Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Joe Knows the 2021 NFL Draft Class, where today we are going to be reviewing the draft of the Chargers. Now, take your pick. It can be the Los Angeles Chargers, which they currently are, or the San Diego Chargers, which they historically were, and take your pick, whatever floats your boat. Myself, I wish they'd stayed in San Diego, and that's nothing against Los Angeles. I love both cities. So I have family, or I should say my wife's family, and friends, and I have friends out there too in both cities. And we go out and visit at least once a year, both cities, and we love both cities. And but San Diego to me, I grew up in the early 80s. Chargers are a San Diego team. I hope one day they find their way back there. I'm sad they moved to Los Angeles, just like I believe that the Raiders belong in Oakland. And I have family in Vegas too. I love Vegas, nothing against Vegas, but I think Raiders belong in Oakland. It seems to roll off the tongue well. The Oakland Raiders, the San Diego Chargers. But anyway, so this is the Chargers content we're covering today. And I try to do this in the beginning of every episode. I'm a Giants fan, but I do feel like I have somewhat of an emotional or nostalgic connection with every single team out there. Chargers, Air Coryell system under Don Coryell. You guys were pioneers, and I love that. I love ingenuity. I love newness, and I love pioneers of new things. And that is what you guys were in the late 70s and up through the mid 80s with that offense of yours with Dan Fouts launching the ball down the field, scheming wide receivers open, using your tight end, and it was fantastic. I loved it. I love that history that you guys had. I like the team in the mid 90s that went to the Super Bowl with Junior Seau and Stan the Man Humphries. And I love where the team is going right now with their new young quarterback. So you guys are in a great position, and we're going to review your class in a little bit. Before we get to the juicy content, I do want to say that I do want to point out this episode is dedicated, of course, to all Chargers fans, but it's especially dedicated to Chargers fans that I know, and off the top of my head, the ones that I could recall, and that is we've got some family in San Diego again. So this is especially dedicated to Uncle Billy, to Martin, and Mateo, who are Chargers fans, and at least I think Uncle Billy still is. Uncle Billy, I think, holds a grudge against the Chargers for leaving San Diego. When I last saw him about 2 years ago, I asked him how he felt about the Chargers moving, and he said, "Who are you talking about?" Meaning that he wasn't really, paying attention to them anymore. That he's the type that holds a grudge. So, Uncle Billy, hopefully you're hearing this and you'll start loving and following the Chargers again, because you root for the jersey, right? You root for the team wherever they go. So, anyway, we're gonna get to the content in 1 second, but before we have to get to bells and whistles first, where you can find the show. That's Apple Podcast, YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, and Facebook, where we have 2 pages: Toilets to Titles and When a Family Breaks, which is where we are involved in the trading of sports memorabilia. Check it out. It's really cool. Don't forget, please, to hit that like and subscribe button. Anything, really helps our metrics, even a thumbs down, but that kind of stinks, right? That's not nice. But if you really feel that way, if that's your honest feedback, go ahead and give the thumbs down. We prefer thumbs up. Really appreciate it. It helps drive our metrics and it helps us get the show out to more people. Thank you so much. And also, if you have a chance, if you're not listening to us on Apple right now, if you could take 30 seconds, go over to Apple on their podcast and give us a 5-star review. That helps us out a lot. And also, you can go to patreon.com/toilets to titles to find out how to further support the show. So, moving on to the Chargers 2021 draft class. You guys have a total of 9 picks, including 2 in the 3rd round and 2 in the 6th round. And I try to, when I'm looking at each team's draft class, I try to develop see if there's a theme where maybe one team focused on defense or one team focused on the offensive line. But with you guys, it was scattered all over the place, and I mean that in a good way. You took good value, good players at every level of both sides of the field. You took defensive line, linebacker, secondary, and on the offense, you took wide receiver, running back, offensive line. You spread it out. You get good talent and good value everywhere. I like it a lot. Moving on to your 1st round pick, Rashawn Slater. Who does not love Rashawn Slater? If you were following the draft, or I should say the players entering the draft, like I was for like 3 or 4 months leading up to the draft, you became very familiar with the name Rashawn Slater. This guy he skyrocketed up charts the past few months leading up to draft day. and up to the point where I'd say like the last like 2 weeks before the draft, his name was being compared favorably, maybe even a little more so than Penny Sewell, who was regarded as the best lineman coming out of a draft, at least tackle coming out of a draft in like 10 years at least. He's considered a generational tackle. That is Penny Sewell. And Rashawn Slater was being compared favorably to this guy. So that is impressive. And here's a guy who could realistically be left tackle, right tackle, or even a superior guard on the interior. You can put him wherever you want. He's a rugged guy. He's versatile, and this guy has just got wow written all over him. So if my Giants had taken him, originally I wanted a playmaker, I wanted a receiver for my Giants at the 11th pick, like a Jalen Waddle or Devontae Smith. I knew they weren't going to be there when they picked. And if they couldn't get those guys, then I would have been happy with an offensive lineman like Slater. So I'm actually surprised that he actually fell to you guys at the 13th pick of the first round. I thought he might go higher, but you know what? You got a really great player with your first pick, and you're going to be really happy. He's going to be protecting your great new young quarterback that we're all excited about, Justin Herbert. The only thing I hope is that Herbert, hope he has a bad game against the Giants whenever he plays my team, and that's it. He can kick everyone else's butt. Just leave the Giants alone. Okay, moving on to the second round, the 15th pick in the second round is Sante Samuel Jr., cornerback out of Florida State. I like this guy a lot. He wasn't one of your premier cornerbacks coming out of this draft, and this was a very good draft for cornerbacks with J.C. Horn, Patrick Surtain, Caleb Farley. This guy was right behind them. You also had Greg Newsome up there, who I believe the Browns took, if I recall correctly, off the top of my head. Asante Samuel was another name, right? He was behind the top three. He was at next tier, right behind the top three, along like with the Greg Newsome. But he was very, very good too. And you got a good player here. And you got a great player in the second round. He's on the smallish side. He's 5'10", 185 pounds. But he led his team, as I say here in the blue bar, he led his team in interceptions and pass breakups, including as a freshman, when only starting 3 out of 12 games. That's really impressive. So you get this guy on the field, he's got a nose for the ball. So like I said, he's got a nose for the ball. He's smart and physical. That's really the name of his game. Obviously, he doesn't have height, he doesn't have weight, but he uses his football IQ. He's Sante Samuel Jr. He is the son of Asante Samuel, who was a great secondary player in his own right for a very long time in the NFL. This guy made the Pro Bowl a few times, and I don't know if he's made the Hall of Fame or if he's going, but this guy was consistently a very good cornerback for a long time, and I think his son is going to be as well. Probably, maybe, not really on the slot, but he'll probably play some slot, play outside a little bit too. It's not like he's that short, but this guy's got, I think you're going to be able to play him some multiple slots, whether it's like, as a CB2 or maybe the slot. And, well, delivery, sorry. It's like reality TV and the dog's barking at the delivery guy. Reality TV. Once we start reporting, we don't stop. But anyway, that's enough about Samuel. He got really good value in the second round. Like it a lot. Josh Palmer, another guy who is screaming up the charts leading up to draft day. This is a guy who, again, he's a third-round pick, so he wasn't like that elite receiver. And this is a deep wide receiver class. He was below that tier of elite receivers. He's like the second or third tier. But when I say third tier, there were a lot of good receivers in this draft. It was packed with wide receivers. And you got one name who consistently was coming up more and more and more leading up to draft day, and that was Josh Palmer. Wide receiver out of Tennessee, 6'1", 210 pounds, good size. He's a pretty good route runner already, but I'm assuming that in the NFL, just given time and experience, he's going to improve on that even more. And he led in 2018. He led the NCAA in yards per catch, which is impressive. It's impressive. You just do it in 1 year. That's impressive. And he also 70% catch for 70% of his catches went for first downs. So this is a guy who's going to be like a big target in key situations, and especially the red zone and end zone. So don't count this guy out. It's very impressive. He's not a burner, but he knows how to get separation. So he's not fast, but he uses his IQ and his route running ability to create separation anyway. So this is a really good, solid pick for the third round. You guys are getting solid players in each round. The value is just right. It's just really good. I'm really impressed with what you guys did. Trey McKitty, tight end. It was your second third-round pick, number 34 overall in the third round. 6'4", 236 pounds. Not a huge guy for a tight end, but still, his reputation is that of a decent blocker. and he actually was a decent receiving tight end in college. I don't think he was used all that much, but but he is a good route runner and he's a smooth runner. And so I know there were a lot of people who were talking about him leading up to the draft, and they were saying this is a guy who could wind up being a bit of a steal, like if he's taken in mid rounds, like third, fourth, fifth round. This is a guy who could wind up being better than where he was drafted. So I think you have a lot to be happy with this pick. And I'll tell you, finding quality tight ends are not easy. It really isn't. Usually you either get a guy who's very good at blocking, or you get a guy who's very good at receiving, and you're lucky to even find those. But here you might have gotten the complete package. We'll see how it turns out. But I like the pick, and I thought in the back end of the third round, I thought it was a pretty cool. I thought it was a pretty cool draft here, a pick here. I thought it was good. I liked it. I like Trey McKitty. Moving on, fourth round, 13th pick in the fourth round, Chris Rumph. Another name I myself became very familiar with because my Giants needed edge help. They needed pass rush help themselves pretty badly, very badly, as a matter of fact. So I was reading up a lot on the guys like in middle rounds and those guys projected to go in the sixth and seventh round, who maybe you could take a flyer on later on and hope that you can develop into something better. Chris Rumph is one of those guys, and he went in the fourth round and he deserved it. This guy played at Duke, so he's not, he didn't come from a big program, but that's okay. He was going up against big time competition in the SEC. Melvin, go. He was going up against big time competition in the SEC. He was getting sacks and a lot of tackles for loss his first 2 years, and that's when he was not even starting. And then in 2020, he got 12 and a half tackles for loss. That's a lot. And he got 8 sacks in 2020. And again, this is on Duke, so this isn't like the best. These guys they don't have the best players on their team. So he's kind of doing this alone. It's not like he's got some other stud, your future number one draft pick playing on the opposite side of him. He's pretty much doing this on his own. So that stands out. When you see a guy coming from a smaller program, even though they play in the SEC, it's a smaller program. You want to see them play well against those big guys, and he did that. So that's impressive. Fourth round pick. I thought it was great value. He's an instinctive player. He's an instinctive rusher with a nose for the ball, and I think he can be. He's projected to be like a first two, just like a part-time player, maybe first 2 downs. But I think he could wind up developing into a 3-down outside linebacker who can rush the passer. I like him. I like his traits. I like his ability, and I believe in the guy. I thought that was good value in the fourth round. Okay, moving on to the fifth round, 15th pick overall. It's Brendan Hymus. Okay, it's Brendan Hymus is how his name is pronounced. I like this guy. He is an offensive tackle out of Nebraska. Nebraska is one of those schools that's been traditionally good at producing very good quality offensive linemen. Now it's really Notre Dame, Iowa, and Wisconsin that seem to have taken over that role, but Nebraska is there as well. And I saw an interview with this guy. I found him intriguing. I started reading up on him more leading up to the draft. And I love this guy. I would have loved if my Giants took this guy. This guy offers you a lot of versatility. And you know what? A key trait that he has, a key ability, is availability. This guy did not get injured, I don't think, once in college. He started 40 consecutive games, and I think they were all at left tackle. And that was a Nebraska Cornhusker record. I misspelled it. I said Cornhusker, but it's Cornhusker. I know that. I misspelled it. That was a Nebraska record. And he was voted by his teammates as the offensive MVP in 2019. That's impressive. I don't think you really see that often with an offensive lineman. Usually that goes to a quarterback or running back or wide receiver, but he got that from his teammates as an offensive lineman. This guy is versatile. He played the blind side at Nebraska. And he played the blind side at Nebraska, and but he'll probably project more as a right tackle in the NFL, or he can come in and be guard. I think you got a guy who can be a starting tackle, possibly even a starting left tackle. But if not, I think then definitely a right tackle. And if not that, then he can swing in a guard. I do think he is going to start one day, whether it's next year or the year after that. I do think he will start. But at the very worst, I think his floor is as a very versatile and valuable backup. Maybe as a swing tackle or some playing at guard a little bit, whatever. You're going to like this guy. He's going to bring value to your team. I'm sorry about my dog. Melvin doesn't like when I'm talking to a monitor. He thinks I'm crazy. It's okay, boy. These are my friends. Okay, moving on. Nick Neiman, linebacker out of Iowa, 6'3", 234 pounds, long, rangy, athletic, and he closes holes fast. You want to see that from a linebacker. He needs to develop his coverage game. He could wind up being a 3-down linebacker. I don't think that's going to happen. Don't get me wrong. I'm not throwing out a crazy possibility either. But the guy has some traits that I like. He's not heavy, but I do like his length at 6'3", and I like my linebackers being long, rangy, athletic, and he's closing the holes fast because he can diagnose the play. That is key to me. The high football IQ means a lot to me. That's why I gave him a chance, I think a realistic chance, to eventually become a 3-down starter at linebacker. Maybe not a stud, not a Pro Bowler, but a guy who can possibly wheel out there and not worry about him. Okay, so I think that's a possibility. If not, I think he's probably going to give you some. He's probably going to give you like good depth there at linebacker. So I like that. And when you're talking about the 6th round, it's the first pick in the 6th round. You know what? If you can get that, take it and run it. You know, like a good backup, a valuable backup depth. If you can get that in the 6th round, take it, run with it, and be happy. Don't complain. Second pick in the sixth round, the 14th pick overall in that round, Larry Roundtree III. I like this guy. I was reading up on this guy a lot, and he was consistently projected to go in the later rounds. I didn't get it. I thought this guy was worth like a 4th or at least a 5th round pick. But you got him in the middle of the 6th round here. I think you've got awesome value. This guy holds all types of Missouri records. I think on the number of runs that he had, like the carries. Actually, no, his yardage. In terms of, he holds a lot of records in terms of yardage. I think receptions by a running back, and he was also a kick returner. But this guy's a workhorse, and he's a potential 3-down running back, no joke. He's got size, burst, and finish. And so I think they're kind of projecting him to be maybe like a 2-down running back, or someone that you got to put paired up with like 1 or 2 of the running backs to have like a 2 or 3-headed monster. This guy, I think, has a legitimate shot to be a 3-down running back, and a darn good one. I'm not saying an elite guy, but someone who could still give you, be a running back on all 3 downs, and I wouldn't be surprised about it. I wouldn't be surprised. I think this guy could wind up being a real steal. And me and myself, this is where he's projected to go. I was surprised. I thought he would go no later than the 5th round. So for me, myself, for Joe knows, I think you Charger fans, you got a steal here. Larry Roundtree III. And it's not a misspelling. There is no D in his name. It's Roundtree, just Rountree. Larry Roundtree III. Remember that name, because I think you're gonna remember that name. Your last pick, 13th overall pick in the 7th round, Mark Webb, safety out of Georgia, 6'1", 270 pounds. This guy's a safety, and he's built like a safety. He's got the height, he's got the weight. He's coming from Georgia, which is has been for quite a while now one of the best defensive programs in all of NCAA football. Kirby Smart, the head coach. Georgia is always like a top 10, top 5 team now nationally, and their defense is right up there. Usually is like a top 5 defense. They know how to produce defensive players. Here you get Mark Webb. This guy was a converted wide receiver. So what I like about that is when they do that with safeties and cornerbacks, the safeties and cornerbacks a lot of times have an idea of what the receiver wants to do or what he's going to do. So that lets them play ahead of the play itself a little bit. I'm not saying they can all do that, but that's something they can bring to the other side of the field when they transition over to the secondary. So I like that. I think that's pretty cool. And he's projected as a backup box safety, and he's known to hit receivers hard. So this is a guy who is he's not so effective covering in the passing game. It's my understanding, because I haven't watched film on this guy. It's not a guy I was all that familiar with. I did read up somewhat on him leading up to the draft, and I read a little bit before I did this video here just to become a little more familiar, but I haven't watched any video. I don't think he's ever going to be a starter, but listen, if he can be a backup, box safety, and I think he's someone who can play as like maybe like a backup slot as well. I think that's good. I think that's good value because you need those types of players. And this is a 7th round pick. Not everyone's going to be a starter. Not everyone's going to be a Pro Bowler. You need good depth, guys who can step in when your best players are down, your best players need a rest. You need someone who can come in and who's not going to burn you. And Mark Webb may be a type of guy who can come in and give you good depth, who can come in and do a few plays while your starters get a rest, while they catch a breather in a tight game. And this guy could be good. I like him a lot. And I like his intangibles. I like the height and I like the weight and I like the program that he comes from. So he's very well coached up already. You're not coming from Georgia and not being coached up. He's already coached up. So I like that. I think that's well done. I think this is a good pick in the 7th round, and that pretty much wraps up the entire draft for the Chargers. I love what you guys did. Just I think good value, like all up and down the field. I thought it was really cool what you achieved there, and I really don't think you reached for anyone. So it was nice. I thought you restocked your roster very, very well here, Charger fans. So before we say goodbye, please, if you can give a follow to each of my colleagues here at Toilets to Titles, there's about 10 of us now. Here's the Twitter handles. They're all a great bunch of guys. We're all contributors to Toilets to Titles, and we all love doing this. We love doing this for you guys and gals who are into NFL and dynasty football and draft football, and it's it's a lot of fun. We're having a great time. Follow all of them. They're just a great bunch of people. And also, please, once again, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, hit the bell, give us that 5-star Apple review for a shot at a free entry to the Frankenstein League, which is our own league that we've created for you. It's a fantasy football league, different rules, a lot of fun, and there's a lot of people involved in it now, more and more every single day, and they're getting excited about it because it's going to be a lot of fun. We've got some funky rules. It's gonna be a lot of fun when we start it up soon. Anyway, that's it for me. Have a great night. Have a great day. Love you all, and I'll catch you tomorrow on the next video of Joe Knows. Take care, everyone.